The reasons why they're starting to do better in the United States is that they're using shale gas. And this has really reduced their energy costs. This has made their exports competitive. It's made an enormous difference to them, just like the discovery of North Sea oil did for us in the 1970s. Also, of course, in America, they are not. Their industrial manufacturers are not tied by all these regulations, health and safety, all the rest of it, that their European counterparts are. So we are seeing the United States starting to move forward. Move across the Atlantic to Europe, and you've got a very different situation altogether, because those countries, many of them, 17 of them, are tied together in something called the Eurozone, which is completely artificial. Many of those countries are suffering from the wrong interest rate. They're suffering from the wrong exchange rate as well. And it's going to get worse for them. It can only get worse. It's making their exports very difficult to sell. It's discouraging tourists from visiting them. So if Greece was to leave the euro, and I don't think that will happen now, a year ago I thought it would, I don't think it will now, Greece is dying a slow death because they are unable to raise enough in taxes to pay for their own bills, their own costs. They have to be bailed out. These bailouts come with strings, what's called austerity. This austerity means less growth, and you get in this vicious circle with more and more people in Greece becoming unemployed, less and less tax being taken, so there's less that can be spent. It is a ghastly, vicious circle, we call it. And as far as I can see now, the European Union here, these people here in Strasbourg, would prefer to see people in Greece suffer in this way than to see their Euro project, what we call, unbundle. Now, of course, the other reason why the Eurozone is struggling is that they are wrapping up their own industrial manufacturers in all this red tape, health and safety, all sorts of little things that add all the time. Every time you make it more difficult to employ somebody, it means that more difficult to fire somebody, it means you're saddled with an employee who isn't productive. You have to spend money on lawyers and trying to get rid of them. That's just a small example. And until they can address that, it's just going to get worse and worse. So they've got to break up the Eurozone, and they've got to be realistic about the strictures they put on their own manufacturers. He's being realistic in one way, in that the situation we have at the moment is a halfway house. You've got a combination of a common currency, but you've got individual governments deciding on their own budgets what they're going to spend and how much they're going to tax people. So I think that they're wrong, the countries of Europe, to go down this route, but if you want to have a single currency, you really do have to have a single fiscal policy as well, and you have to have more and more centralised government. I also think that should be put to the French people in a referendum. Look, this is the direction you are going. The present setup is unsustainable. Either you go back to being an independent, sovereign country of France with your 60 million people and your industry and all your history, quite a viable country in the world, or you get sucked into this centralised state. And please look at the Soviet Union if you want to find out what really happens when you get as closely involved as that. Also look at Yugoslavia. I feel the French people should be given a chance. Holland is now taking them to the centralised direction. Do they really want that? They must answer.